Big Sky Commissioner Wistrcill joins me on the Big Mountain. Welcome back to the Big Mountain. I am JY, and it's great to have you here with me. Our focus on Western Conferences continues as I have invited Big Sky Commissioner Wistrcill onto the mountain to talk about all kinds of things. It's so great. We actually are separating this into two different episodes. So without further ado, we're going to get into episode 1. And here with me on the Big Mountain is the commissioner of the Big Sky Conference, Tom Wistrcill. Welcome to the mountain.
Great to be with you, Jason. Excited for our conversation today.
Awesome. We're going to snip this into two different bits. The first bit, I want to just get an overview of the Big Sky Conference. Of course, we got to talk football because that is our focus here on the Big Mountain. And then I want to talk about membership and just Western realignment with you. On the second bit that we do that'll come out tomorrow, we're going to talk about the NCAA proposed governance model and things that are going on there. And also want to talk to you about the basketball tournament expansion and where that may be headed. But let's just start off with an overview here of the Big Sky Conference, some of your successes here of the conference in 24-25. I know it was your 62nd year here, I believe, in the Big Sky as being in existence. 10 member institutions with 2 additional affiliate members in football, so 12 football members. How'd the year go for you guys?
We had a great year. Very fortunate. Speaking specifically about football, our 12 members are always amongst the best teams in the country at the FCS level. We pride ourselves in being the best FCS conference in the country. That's our goal. Last year we had 5 teams in the playoffs of 24, the most of any conference. We haven't won a title in a while. It's been since 2010. So that's been a source of frustration. North Dakota State and South Dakota State have been dominating that, and credit goes to them for winning the championship games. But the depth of our league is really strong, really impressive. Great coaches, great locations. I think the thing that's special about the Big Sky is football's in our DNA. It's kind of what we're known about, what our schools are known for, the athletic departments. They invest a lot in football, and everybody's goal is the same, is to win the Big Sky Conference. If you do that, you've put yourself in position to win a national title. And so we feel very fortunate. We've got a really good, strong, deep conference when it comes to football and other sports, but certainly football is a flagship for us.
Yeah, I believe you started as commissioner in 2019, so you're over 6 years in to the job. And last I saw, I believe your platform that you guys use is Experience Elevated is kind of the tagline, if you will. Can you maybe just talk briefly about that as the conference and how you're able to have an elevated experience, for all of your sport members?
Sure. Our schools, again, are, regional, mostly, are all publics, regional state universities. I've always made the claim that when your state's in the name, it's pretty important. So we have Idaho State and Idaho and Montana's Eastern Washington, Northern Arizona, on and on, where you have the state names in there. So our goal has always been is to provide our student athletes with an incredible experience while they're on campus. We believe we're doing college athletics the right way at our level. It's still about graduation. It's still about the student athlete experience. Yeah, we're going to play high quality Division I athletics at the highest level, and we're going to try to win national titles, but it's still finding that balance between, what are we trying to accomplish here? And it's not about how much can we pay a player. And so that's the great thing about our level. I feel like we do it the right way, and that's how we talk about that experience being elevated. It's that balance between high-level athletics and academics that prepare you for success after you graduate. So that's what it's all about. And I think as long as we keep those things at the forefront, we'll continue to be successful.
And I have to give a congratulations out. I think I saw it was today or just recently. One of the ADs in your conference was named FCS AD of the Year, Athletic Director of the Year, Leon Costello with Montana State. So that's fantastic to see, that great award going to one of the Big Sky athletic directors. So fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's the second time in the last 4 years we've had a member of our conference. Leon does a great job at Montana State, leading that program, and they've really put a mark nationally on what they're doing. We're very fortunate. We got great leadership. I got a great group of athletic directors I could work with every day. I work for a board of presidents that care about the things we just talked about, graduation, and in keeping that balance of what a student athlete is all about. And again, I think that's a huge reason for our success is it comes down to the leadership that you have on campus that allow you to move things forward.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more about football. You did talk about the past season here, how things turned out there in the playoffs. And, 12 football playing members, we mentioned that. One of, if not the top FCS conferences in the nation. Sam Herder here with Hero Sports just released a preseason top 25 media poll. 6 of the top 25 teams come out of the Big Sky Conference. That's half of your membership is in the top 25 here for that media poll. So that's amazing. And then 3 of the last 4 seasons, Big Sky had one of their members in the FCS Championship game. Again, you mentioned maybe the champion being a little elusive here right now, but being in that championship game is really something that I think you guys can tip your hat to, and all of the FCS can tip their hat to. That you're that consistent with programs within the Big Sky. What expectations do you have here going into this next football season?
It's a great question because, like I said, our goals are the same for all 12 member institutions. Win the conference, win a national championship. And it's hard to be in that top 6. I mean, when you look at it, if you think we got 5 in the playoffs last year, that means chances are one team that's preseason top 25 probably isn't going to make the playoffs.
Right.
And that's hard, but it's so hard to play for a national championship in any sport. I don't care what level you're talking about. It's so hard to play for a national title. So, our conference is so deep, such diverse places, diverse locations,
Yep.
altitude, weather, we're in 8 different states. So, you got to battle travel and everything to get through that gauntlet to get into the playoffs. And then, with the FCS playoffs, your goal is to get as many home games as you can, and everything but the championship game goes to the highest seed. So we've been fortunate when you get somebody that's a 1 or 2 seed. Typically, those teams are really hard to beat at home. So, Montana State last year was a great example. And they were hard to beat at home. They didn't lose at home. They didn't lose till the national championship game. So I mean, it's one of those things where that's the goal is first you got to try to get in the playoffs. So people are investing a lot of resources and from a recruiting standpoint, coaching standpoint, player development, all of that to try to get to the playoffs. Then you got to get some favorable matchups. So as you look at us, you could say, God darn it, there's some really good football teams at the top. I would say the challenge lies in the middle. It's how do you get into that group that's going to make the playoffs? 500 in our league tends to kind of get you there because hopefully you win a couple non-conference games. And if you get to 7 wins, you got a really good chance to get there out of our conference. It's just hard to win those road conference games. And that's the problem. Everybody's got to play 4 road games. And, you might be playing at altitude in northern Arizona at 7,000 feet. And then you might be playing at UC Davis and it's 95 degrees. And then you're playing in a foot of snow in Missoula. So good luck winning on all those places to our teams. But everybody knows that it's part of our league. And I think they embrace that, because that's what makes it special.
Well, I love that you're bringing up just that area of the country. As our viewers know, I'm a huge Mountain West guy. I love that portion of the country here in the Western and Pacific time zones. You talk about elevation, you talk about just the changes, and you have that with the Big Sky. You look at some of your Montanas, and you mentioned some of the other schools there, and I see that with the Mountain West. You got your Boise playing on the blue in November is very, very different than playing in, say, New Mexico in September, right? And very different than some other conferences that maybe are just focused in the Southeast, for example, where the weather is, pretty hot most of the football season. So I love that about both the Big Sky and the conference I follow, the Mountain West. Another thing I just have to say is there's some beautiful stadiums within the Big Sky. Both the Montana schools have gorgeous stadiums. And again, it's that part of the country where you can get those wonderful views with a stadium. But I just have to give a shout out to some of the facilities that you guys have there in the Big Sky because they are wonderful.
As I mentioned, football is really important to our schools.
Yeah.
It's part of our DNA, and certainly other facilities and other sports are strong too. But our schools are very proud of their football stadiums, and it's a point of pride for a lot of the schools. This is kind of the state get together, right? I mean, if you live in northern Idaho, on Saturdays you're going to the Kibbe Dome, and if you live in Montana, chances are on a Saturday you're going to one or the other. You're either going to Missoula or Bozeman, and you really don't care about what else is happening around the country. You're concerned about your team
Yep.
and your locale because chances are those kids from the local area, they're playing at that school.
Yep.
And that's pretty special about our level and about our conference. And so, like I said, very fortunate to be a part of that.
Well, let me ask you one other question about football here, and then I do want to turn to membership. But can we maybe talk a bit about how FCS runs its championships? We can see all the iterations and changes and posturing and discussions about FBS, and they can never seem to get it right. And everybody has a better idea, and we're mad this team got left out and X, Y, and Z. I mean, do you feel like the FCS, the way they run their football championship, pretty much has it figured out? Or is there anything there that you would look to possibly change in the future?
What I love about our championship is I consider it pretty equal opportunity. So, let's take 128 schools playing FCS football. 24 of them make the playoffs. So you're going to have 136, 138 in FBS next year.
Yep.
And, they're talking about 14, getting to 16. We have 24 slots, so 11 AQs and 13 at large. So what I love about it is every school, when they start out the year, has a chance to make the playoffs. I don't think that's the case at the FBS level. People
Agreed.
can talk about it. Yeah, one school out of the G6. Come on, let's
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah.
Most of that group never is going to sniff the playoffs ever. That's what I love about ours. Win your conference and you get a chance to come play in the playoffs. The Ivy League is coming to take an AQ in the playoffs for the first time ever, I
Right.
believe. And so how cool is that? I mean, what if Harvard's playing at Montana in the first round of the playoffs? I mean, what a cool story, right? So you have that where you can reward those 11 conference winners, and then you can still pick the best other teams. Like for us, right? We had an AQ, and then we had 4 at-large spots last year,
Right.
and then we had another team that was in the discussion for that last spot. And so I love it. We got a committee made up of athletic directors, one athletic director from all the AQ conferences, and they use a set of criteria that it's very public. And is it subjective at times? Of course. Every committee we have is that way.
Yes.
As you know, I'm part of the men's basketball committee, right? I mean, every committee has that. And they have a hard job to pick those last couple of teams and then seed them in a way that is balanced and fair. And then we argue about it afterwards. Hey, that's the beauty of sports. So, yeah, I mean, I understand why the FBS has to do things differently because they are trying to balance out a bowl system still.
Yeah.
And so that makes it hard. But, I would say our number is perfect for our number of schools. Because, like I said, we can strike the balance between AQs and at-large spots. I don't think that's happening in the CFP discussion. No matter what format they come out with, last year the Mountain West champion made it, but gal darn it, it's probably leaving out a really good team out of the Sun Belt.
Sure.
And I was a MAC AD for 6 years, so you're probably leaving out a pretty good MAC team too. So anyway, that's how it works for us. We're really proud of it. I don't foresee any changes anytime soon, and we continue, I think, to do it the right way.
Yeah, you go to that motto, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of deal. I kind of say that to the CFP. We've had 1 year of this 12, and even before we got into it, people were talking about fixing it, and I'm like, what are we talking about? But anyway, love what you guys do there, and I see it brought up quite often when these discussions are had at the FBS level, at least from fans, I should say. I see it brought up quite often. Like, hey man, FCS has it figured out. Why can't we just do that? The fans seem to get it. But of course, business and power and money and all that, they can get in the way at times. So I fully understand that. Let's talk about membership and just Western realignment in general here. Membership is the reason for the existence of every conference. They're there to serve, obviously, their members. And we're seeing here on the western side of the country that continued ripple effect from what occurred there with USC and UCLA moving to the Big Ten. It's just kind of working its way down through the Pac and the Mountain West and the Big West and maybe the Big Sky. Obviously UC Davis is going to be moving all of their sports to the Mountain West here in a year and a half or a year-ish now, except for football. They're going to remain in the Big Sky, at least for now, with the FCS ranks. Another one of your members here has been making all kinds of headlines here, with their push to potentially move to FBS, that being Sacramento State University. Can you speak to just the strength of your existing membership, kind of where you're at right now, and what you see maybe coming down the pike here in the future?
We've been very fortunate, knock on wood, from a membership standpoint. I think it goes back to kind of a little bit what I've talked about of we know who we are.
Yeah.
And people aren't really trying to be something they're never going to be. I used to say as a MAC AD, we were trying to be something we're never going to be and falling further behind every day.
Yeah.
That's the way I looked at it, right? Ohio State was going like this,
Yeah.
and we were kind of trudging along like this, and the gap got bigger every day, right? And so I think that my job as commissioner is to make sure all our member institutions have their eyes wide open to any membership decision they might make. And I have a unique background because I worked at two Power Four schools. I was a G5 AD for 6 years. Now I'm an FCS commissioner. So I can share with them, here's the good and the bad about trying to compete at the G5 level. And there's some great things about it. But there's also some real challenges from a funding level, trying to make that work. And so I've talked a lot. Every meeting I talk to our presidents and ADs about here's what's kind of going on around us. Here's some of the things that might happen that could affect our membership. And let's just make sure that you understand. Here's my opinion on the good and bad to those types of things. We've remained stable, I think, like I said, because our schools, while very different locations, different states, different populations, in the end, athletic departments are pretty much very similar, right? The funding model for FCS football is fairly similar amongst the conference. So we've stated our 10 full-time members, our 2 affiliates in football. We've had a number of schools asked to be members of the Big Sky in the last 3 years. It's kind of a continual ask from a number of schools. And we've just said, no, we're happy with where we're at right now. We know that a school like Davis, like you said, is going to the Mountain West. They've reiterated over and over they're happy playing football in the Big Sky. Will that change someday? Maybe. Do I think that's imminent? I don't. Sac State has aspirations. Their president's very aggressive, Dr. Luke Wood. He's got big dreams for Sac State. Good for him. So what that causes for us is we just have discussions about various opportunities and options and what we think about. And if SAC chooses to leave, and we should know their timing by the end of June, what's going on there, one way or the other. If they choose to go independent FBS, then we tell them good luck, and then we have a decision to make. Do we backfill that role? Do we not? Do we wait? We've got some opportunities. Obviously, the biggest thing, quite frankly, looming over us right now is, as I'm sure you're waiting for as well, as a result of this mediation, which, as we're filming, I think will be 2 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah.
I believe, which is a long time
Yeah.
for mediation. And I can't really speculate other than they're probably having trouble fighting over money. Is how's that for a guess, right?
Yeah.
And because it's going to mean so much to either side
Right.
where those dollars fall. The current Pac-12 new members that are there, the ones that are left in the Mountain West, that whole shift, that could have impact on the Big Sky.
Right.
And so we're watching that very closely to see what might happen there. So I just kind of gave you the whole membership squeal in 2 minutes there, but it's very important to what we're doing. We're part of the discussions that are happening around the country,
Yeah.
and we're watching very closely what's happening around us.
Well, I have to ask a real quick follow-up. I mean, you brought up the mediation between the Pac and the Mountain West. We've seen, the Mountain West, be somewhat aggressive in terms of backfilling what they knew they were going to need to do. Obviously, Hawaii, UTEP, they bring on NIU, UC Davis, GCU. They've done a lot of that. And of course, we all know the Pac right now only has 7 football playing members. So even with the mediation, when that's done, they need to bring in at least one more full member. So I guess my question is, do you see kind of another round of that, like Mountain West Pac ongoing, causing more turmoil, for lack of a better term, in realignment for the West? Or do you think for the most part here, things are just going to settle down? They're pretty happy with where they're going to be at again, other than maybe that one member for the Pac? Or are you expecting things to kind of bubble back up again?
I think that all has to deal with the result of the mediation.
Okay.
If the mediation happened 2 hours ago and I was able to read through and know what it was, I could probably give you a really educated guess as to what I think the next steps are.
Okay.
So all I would be giving you right now is, what I think might happen if, right?
Yeah.
So for example, I don't think that the Pac-12, my gut tells me the Pac-12 doesn't stop at 8. And the reason is I don't think playing 7 conference football games makes a lot of sense. I think it's too difficult to schedule non-conference games out west here. And I know all those commissioners, they're all good friends.
Yeah.
I know all the ADs and all these schools out here at every level.
Yep.
The one common thread we all share is it's hard to schedule football games.
Yeah.
So having to schedule one more is even more painful. So, my gut tells me the Pac-12 doesn't stop at 8 because 7's a hard number. You have to find 5 non-conference games, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Where do they look? Where do they go? Who knows? I think the mediation will help with a lot of that. Regardless of the mediation outcome, that tells me that the waters aren't calm yet.
Yeah.
There's going to be some shifting out there, whether those schools that are moving up or from the Big Sky or other places, or they're coming out west from places like Northern Illinois or Texas or wherever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's done yet. And that's just the nature of the beast where we're at right now. And like I said, right now it's purely speculation because this mediation, again, there's a reason why it's taking so long. So that tells me that fight is not, going easy, because it's going to determine the long-term outcome for both conferences. And then that's going to have effect. It's going to have a ripple effect on conferences like mine.
For sure. Appreciate that. Didn't know we were going to get there in this episode, but I appreciate your thoughts on that. And I want to thank again Big Sky Commissioner Wistrcill for joining me here for this discussion. Again, part 2 will be out tomorrow when we talk about the proposed changes to the NCAA governance, as well as the potential expansion of the NCAA basketball tournament. So you'll make sure you come back and check that out tomorrow. Hey, if you like our content, make sure you give this one a like and you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.